All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody who's watching, wherever you're watching from. It's nice to be able to bring you some positive news here today with everything that's going on with the coronavirus. I don't know if you've heard of that thing going on. It's nice to bring you some exciting news. Actually, joining us here is Mark Perrin from Bluewater Borderfest. How are you holding up, Mark?
We're doing all right. It's busy time still. Lots of work happening and going on with our whole committee and team, and most of our committee and team are actually on the front lines. So between fire department, EMS, and nurse at the hospital, it's busy and just coordinating everything the best we can right now.
Yeah, well, and certainly big shout out to all those frontline workers and first responders that we probably take advantage of most days. So thank you to all of them, and glad, and you and your family staying safe, I'm sure.
We are. It's busy. I have our 3 kids at home and watching them while my wife's working at the hospital. And yeah, it's definitely a little crazy with a 7, 5, and 15-month-old running around while trying to get conference calls and lots of things done on the tourism side. But
Right.
Same token, I originally stepped back a little bit from Bluewater Borderfest, but has said, where can I help out to give the hands that are needed at this time as well?
Well, you're still the front man of the band, so to speak, I think. And I know that I always had a hard time pulling you out on stage to be able to say thank you to you. You're not one to take the credit. You're very good at giving the shout out to your team, which is very much a family affair. And let's talk about that before we get to some announcements. Some may already have heard it already on K106.3. Well, let's tell everybody that first, and then we'll talk about Borderfest some more.
Yeah, for sure. So yesterday, we had it originally. We've talked about it. We've been holding on to it for probably 3 weeks or so. Do we announce? Don't we announce what we look at doing? And kind of setting it up, we had artwork approved, and then Our Lady Peace kind of jumped the gun and announced, and put us in a position that said, okay, well, they announced, we better get it on our website and announce as well, which is fine. I mean, that's I think the whole, let's give someone, let's give as many people as we can some positive reinforcement that if we're following public health guidelines and we're doing the right things and washing our hands, staying home right now, then maybe we can enjoy the summer. So, this thing, it really, I want to say we started planning probably August of 2019 for 2020. So it takes a while to line things up and get things together. And all that planning and hard work, has really came. We hope to announce just before March break was the original plan, and pushing it back, but we're happy to at least get the information out and say, hey, this is what our plan is for the summer. We got 2 more nights to announce still as well, but We're excited. Finger 11 and Our Lady Peace are great Canadian bands, and we've actually had Our Lady Peace on our wish list for a few years now. And,
I remember you talking about that a few times.
Yeah, so glad to make it happen, and now let's just hope we can have them on the original dates. But if not, we have some plans as well.
All right. Well, I'm just going to go to the comments out here. We're getting some positive comments. My friend Dommy says, hello, guys. Chris, local musician, fingers crossed, things clear up by the summer. And nice to have some positive news. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, everybody. If you do have some questions, we're going to have Mark for about another 10 minutes. There's certainly a lot more that both him and I got to get to, but we wanted to share this with you. So if you do have questions, please share them in the comments. We're live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. So, Mark, let's go back. I was getting ahead of myself. I was thinking this was coming into the 5th year, but it's the 4th year for Bluewater Borderfest. Give us a bit of the backstory on how this got started and why it really, to you anyway, is really a family affair.
Yeah, absolutely. It was actually 3 different families of friends. We were actually on a vacation, and we were talking about ideas. And myself, I had some concert experience putting on events and other country festivals and events, and just thought, it came up saying, Sarnia is really missing that live music experience, and how can we look to bring something like that back? And I mean, meanwhile, we all are friends. We all have different jobs, and it's by no means a main job for anyone. It's actually a non-for-profit organization that we set up and said, well, if we can look to have this event, that it can support the community, it can help in the kind of economic impact for businesses and bring people to Sarnia-Lambton and offer obviously music and the power that music brings through all, good times, bad times. It just brings people together. And how can we fill that void that was missing? And we put our heads together and kind of came up with a plan, and that happened in 2017. And it's hard to believe, we're going into 4 years later, but we really, how do we work together? We work with a lot of nonprofit groups that come in and help, and we're able to provide funding and awareness for those groups. So I think it's been like 14 or so non-for-profits in Sarnia-Lambton working with over the years. And just with our families, it's how do we kind of give back to the community? We're really big on that. Myself, volunteering time at lots of different organizations, and throughout Corunna, where I'm from, and then also the rest of Sarnia-Lambton. And it's the same collective ideas, and it's great. We have a big group of people. I think our committee, we're up to a dozen people on it, and suggestions and working together. And at the end of the day, everyone's doing it for the right reasons. That's what's important. And I think now more than ever, maybe with this virus and everything coming.
Sure.
How do we keep positioning where we can look forward to hopefully summer sunshine and along Sarnia Bay, and really enjoying that camaraderie and atmosphere?
Yeah, well, I can attest to the family feeling. Having the privilege of being able to be backstage with you and the artists and everybody that's involved. Whenever I've been back there, I really you can feel it. You can feel the love, so to speak, that's going around. And I mean, to keep going, to come into its 4th year. I mean, Bluewater Borderfest, sorry, has had no lack of obstacles to deal with along the way, and now here's another one this year. Like, boy, didn't see that coming. And it's great to have the positive to put out the announcements and continue to do that. However, we know you're smart enough to probably have some kind of an alternative plan if, unfortunately, things don't go the way you would originally like to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was really priority one here, beginning really, I'd say late February, early March, when things started to come out, and obviously having kind of that one from obviously the county, and as well as through healthcare and first responders, having a lot of that forefront information on what's happening. We really started to say, okay, what are our options? We've had a couple conversations already with the city, just to let them know our positions as well, and that we all communicate together. And they've been fantastic. And we really have a couple different options. So one is, how our contracts and everything are wrote is basically postponement would be the first option if we can't run on the July 3rd to 25th dates. We'd look to postpone, and that's working together with the different bands and artists and agencies, and putting it together to another date. So we already have that. We've kind of talked late August or September, but obviously with that, we wouldn't want to just postpone for 4 weeks and not be sure that this thing's totally, going to clear up and everything. So
right.
it might be a moving target, but we're having those conversations probably once a week right now, speaking with some of the agencies and just knowing what's going on in the industry as a whole as well. So, I mean, we're not the only one in this position. There's lots of other events and everything happening. We've had the conversation of what's it look like if we were to bring it indoors and do something, in an arena setting in the fall, or in the winter even, or, spring, or, even what it's like if it turns into 2021. But ultimately, postponing we'd look at first before canceling, and any tickets purchased, anything that way would then be valid for the new postponement date. And then if we did have to cancel for some reason, I think the biggest thing, and from what I've heard, industry wise, is keep in mind, artists and everyone, they want to play these dates so bad.
Yeah.
They're hurting just as bad as everyone else. And these artists, the agencies, they want to play these shows. They want to get back out in front of people. And whether that works to be summer in July, or it has to be, August, September, into the fall, they want to play. They want to make these dates happen. And
well, they're self-employed, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And as soon as they finish this gig, they're fired until they find the next one. So, and they're definitely going to suffer out of all of this.
That's it. So it's how we can support. I mean, we're also working on a bit of a plan right now. Some people have noticed we didn't announce what local artists would be playing that night. And one of the reasons is we're trying to see if we can incorporate even more local artists into this event, and how we do that to help them out. We're throwing around ideas. How do we not only get local artists, but turn this into something that can be kind of a community relief effort when we are able to move forward. Hopefully it's that July 23rd to 25th. That's the original date we had. Yeah. All accounts right now are for that, but we'll continue monitoring the situation and where COVID-19's at, and adjust accordingly and make plans for the future if need be.
Well, the local musician aspect has always been, I know, important to you, but more so to Bluewater Borderfest. They've always been a part of it. And I'm sure you would agree, especially right now we're seeing with things that are happening, quarantine sessions and other things. There really is an extra special local musician community here in the Sarnia-Lambton area. And I think they appreciate being a part of that as well. And, this could, if you're able to follow on track with the July dates, this could make Bluewater Borderfest something even extra special for the community, I would think.
Absolutely. We've had that plan. I mean, it hits home, this whole, pandemic we're going through. And I think when we are able to get out of it, it's how do we take one collective breath and sigh of relief and, say, thank you to the front lines and truck drivers and grocery store employees and everyone out there that has stepped up their efforts. And how do we work with that in the communities? And, how do we honor and remember those that have been sick and suffering as well, right? So I think we're going to take all that into account. That's really what our committee has been talking about and working on. And how do we really just show our support for the community? We love Sarnia-Lambton. We want it to thrive. We want it to get back and have everyone benefit. And how do we collectively do that as a community?
Yeah. I'm going to go over to the comments here again, Mark. And if you do have questions, folks, we've got a few more minutes. Mark will try to do best to answer for you. Bill Gordon, yeah, he's calling me out. He said, "Hi, Dave, laid off, not fired," when I said musicians are fired. Yeah, you're right. You know what I meant. I just meant when that gig's over, you're done until the next one, right? Which, yeah, you're laid off, or you're unemployed, I guess. And Barry's saying we have a lot of really good local talent for true, and Bill's saying so true to something, I don't know. But let's go back to Wesley Shaw. Hopefully another country night. Would love to see some Canadian country. Bring back Eric Etheridge. What do you got to say to that?
You know what? I'm excited about our country lineup. Myself, I'm a big country fan, and when things kind of came up, it would have been late kind of fall on who we can look at bringing, and I think they'll be very happy with who we have. It's the main headliner is going to be one of the biggest acts we've had for country, so we can say that. Eric is he's released a few new songs out. He's climbing the charts. He's a great representative of local, and you know what? I can't give too much away, but hey, maybe we'll see what we can do with Eric down the road here too.
Yeah, tease. Well, then that's one of the biggest. I have a hard time when I know, right? And I'm sure you get lots of people knocking on your door. Come on, can you give me a hint or whatever? But so that's got to be probably one of the toughest parts of your job is having to bite your tongue. But I know that you've got a great team. That you've been able to build and put together, and great things have happened with Bluewater Borderfest aside from the obstacles that have come with along the way. I mean, you can't have greatness without running into obstacles, in my opinion, right? So this year coming along, I mean, obviously, finances are a big part of keeping something like this, or getting something like this started, and then keeping that momentum going and maintaining it. This is this a deciding year, or where's Borderfest at with that?
Yeah, I mean, originally we had a kind of a 3-year plan that jumped to a 5-year plan. We're still looking for more community support to get back on board with the event and help grow it. It's one thing that's kind of been a missing piece to it is having a title sponsor of the event and working with some of the industry to have them supported and coming out and being part of it in a bigger way. And it's something we're going to keep pushing for. We'd like to see it happen in the future. That's really how we're going to grow it. We've been successful with a few of the event programs out there and some of those different things. And, we're hopeful that those exist still to keep going. But it's something, everyone always asks, how can you book bigger and bigger? And the easy answer to that is have more support. That's more people attending. And, everything essentially is rolled into supporting the next year and supporting the community with charities and non-for-profits and kind of mixing, okay, how do we juggle that? So the event itself, we're still trying to go, I guess, from the black to the green, but at the same time, it's working forward each year, and that's kind of that whole community and family that we believe in each other. We believe in what we're doing is a great cause, and we're going to keep doing it, and hopefully the support will come with that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Bill Gordon, who's again a musician, he says it'd be very nice to have the local talent put on a show to help the needy in our area. Is that something that could be a part of Borderfest, where there's maybe something special performances that are put on at some point that maybe go to some kind of COVID-19 after fund, or what does that look like for Borderfest?
Yeah, I think we're open to it. I mean, we've really embraced different ideas throughout the years. Everything from last year, even with Parks and Rec in Sarnia had Battle of the Bands, and we basically said, hey, if we're going to take the winners, and we ended up taking, I forget if it was 2 or 3 of those artists from Battle of the Bands, and said, how do we incorporate them and get them into the show? And really, it's been the local talent. To be honest, I'd love to have a side stage with all local talent. It just comes down to how do we cover the cost for something like that. So, we've really done what we can with having, our openers, 2 local bands typically, and then a support artist and a headliner, and having that each night. And I'd love to grow it, and really that would possibly open the doors earlier into the afternoon, and more community. I think the opportunities are endless. It's just how do we work together as a community, between local musicians, between businesses, between not-for-profits and charities, and how do we really all collaborate together to bring great things to this community? Yeah.
Well, you're doing a good job, and you're on the right track. I do have one here that this I think you'll answer this one well, but are the ticket prices going to be a bit cheaper this year? Well, I mean, personally, I think the prices have been very reasonable. I mean, based on who you're bringing. Can you kind of explain what a ticket price is based on? Like, aside from just paying the artist everything, there's a lot of cost involved here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think people quite, always realize all the costs involved. I mean, especially with it right now. So the ticket prices essentially are built into, so how we figure that out, there's actually monitoring what their average ticket prices are from markets. So we don't necessarily dictate the ticket prices. In the contract, they'll have what they will play for, kind of what the ticket averages are, and then we need to stay kind of within, I believe it's like a 20% kind of threshold on what we can do with that. Also seeing, taking into account what's around us. So seeing what they are in London or Windsor or Detroit, factoring in exchange. I mean, U.S. artists right now obviously are paid in U.S. dollars, which makes things a little tighter as well on how we come up with 40%. But essentially we're trying to do the best we can. I mean, But one problem with the whole kind of ticket base is, I mean, we actually set a ticket. So Our Lady Peace would be like a $60 ticket. And then by the time you add HST and then the online platform for tickets takes whatever their $4 or $5 is, and it escalates. So we take all that into kind of consideration and have to see what it is. But realizing from that, the artist probably gets I would say about high 90% of what the actual ticket sales are. And I mean, there's a reason why we're probably still looking to go to the green, because we haven't charged, what maybe we could for tickets. But same thing, we're hoping the community helps with supporting that. And the easy answer is the more attendance, the more we can look at lowering ticket prices. Everything's kind of based on what we think for an average attendance and ballpark attendance. So from factoring kind of what the artist is looking for, what their average prices are, average attendance, everything else,
there's a lot of factors in there that people don't see.
A spreadsheet with everything, and then seeing myself, I don't think we try to keep it under that $40 to $60 range is the goal, and then the idea is someone
very fair
to do that. But across the board, it is very, very fair compared to other markets, and especially the U.S.
And Teresa asked the question, but she also said, I asked because she says people are financially strapped this year. I get that, and I understand that, but prices of the stage doesn't go down. Prices of the lighting doesn't go down. People's wages don't go down. Price of beer doesn't go down. All that stuff, right? And honestly, if I'll just throw this in here and tell me what you think, Mark, I think honestly coming out of all of this, let's go with this is going to happen in July. Let's just say that. I think really this is a time, yes, so many people are going to be tight and hard strapped, but it's a time where we really dig down deep, like really go like, okay, I can sacrifice this and that, and we can pull this out into the community. We're really going to recover really well from things, and it's going to benefit all of us here in the city of Sarnia. Would you agree with that?
100%. That's really when seeing what's happening and everything else. We get it. The one thing, I guess, compared to if you go see a show, Detroit, Toronto, or London at Bud Gardens or any of that, there's a lot of extra costs for paying staff, everything else. I mean,
beer is $5,000 a can.
Yeah, not $6. It's something. I think we're really fortunate that in Sarnia, there's a non-for-profit putting on a music festival that no one's taking a penny out of. Any profits are either going back to the community for charity, or we're using them to book the next year and keep this thing going. So, I think Sarnia is very fortunate that that's happening, because that's not happening in a lot of cases, and why tickets are higher in other places. But we're really working together, and I think we can come out of this as basically our Canada, everything working together. How do we bring more people down to Sarnia Lambton? And that's the goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, I think you're doing a great job. There's lots of comments out there, but we're kind of running out of time, but we do appreciate your comments, everybody. Well, fingers crossed, right? And maybe crossed. a lot of praying, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, if not, we have some backup plans in the works, and we'll just kind of see. I mean, really, instead of just saying, hey, here's our backup plan, we said we'll keep it as a moving target. But fingers crossed. July is beautiful here, and we really want to. That was our original date, end of July, and we want to stick with that if we can. And excited to make a couple more announcements. I think next week we'll make the country announcement. We're just waiting for the last kind of approvals on artwork there. But
all right, well, let us know, and I'll make sure that I share it around here on the Facebook pages, everything. I'm happy to be a part of Bluewater Borderfest again this year. I'm looking forward to how my services might have to be adapted, possibly, right?
I mean, that's something we got to look in the contracts and talk to artists, and maybe we do a live streaming, right, and work together. We're talking about lots of things, so it's same thing. We got a great community here, and all working together, we can make a lot of great things happen, and really look forward to putting on this year's event. We hope it's in July. If it needs to be postponed, we're ready to postpone it if needed. So thanks again, Dave. And I did see a comment on the stage being donated, and we would love a stage to be donated if someone has a stage liner 320 sitting around.
Right. Yeah. Well, there you go. And
that would be terrific. That would save about $30,000. So yeah, absolutely.
If somebody knock, hello, got a stage liner around.
So,
yeah. Well, and that's, who knows what might happen. People might go, we all got to dig in and do something to regard, but we'll see what happens. Good comments out there. Mark, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to Bluewater Borderfest in 2020. Stay safe, and hugs to you and your family.
Thanks. You as well, Dave. Take care.
Bye now. Our friend Mark Perrin from Bluewater Borderfest. A nice conversation announcing Our Lady Peace in Figure 11 happening on Saturday, July the 25th. That's the plan. And of course, they've got lots of alternate plans as well. If you want to find out more, you can go to bluewaterborderfest.com. Be sure to follow them on Instagram and Twitter. There's usually some ticket giveaways and other fun things that happen there, but they'll keep you updated. And if you have any questions, they're really good and very diligent about responding to emails. I got a great team. You can email them at info@bluewaterborderfest.com. All right. Well, that's all the time I got for this. I hope you're all keeping well and safe out there. If he hasn't already, I think Premier Ford is going to be talking, if he isn't already. And I might have a live feed coming out for that as well. But planning to be here every day. I've got some other interviews coming up tomorrow afternoon. Tonight, Friday, 8 o'clock, on the Show with David Burrows page and the Video Show Network, K106.3 Facebook page, Friday Night Music Fever. 4 local musicians going to be joining me, and my co-host, Julie Coulombe, better known as Jules, is going to be joining me as well. So tune into that. That's tonight, 8 o'clock. Until then, stay safe. Bye for now.